Hey everybody, welcome back. Today's video is all about making hills on my model railway, and today we're going to be trying out a new method. Okay, so this is the area that my new hill will be in, and my normal method would be a cardboard structure with a plaster cloth over the top, painted, then add grass scatter. But I've been looking into other products and I found this insulation foam, which you can see on your screen. Now, after doing some research on this, I found out that it will not degrade or deteriorate when exposed to moisture, which is absolutely perfect for me because my model railway is in a garden shed. And despite the fact it's insulated in here and we have moisture traps, it still gets moisture in here. So I've decided to have a go with this product, this insulation board. So let's get started and let's make a template. Okay, so all this is A4 paper, roughly taped together. Make sure you push it into all the corners, and then I'm going to start making the template. So push it in with your hand, make sure it's all the way in, and feel the edge of your track. Just rub your finger along. Now you can mark it with a pen, but I like doing it this way. So that leaves a nice line for you to cut out. Now what I like to do is leave a small gap between the track and the new hill, because the last thing you want is your expensive trains or rolling stock to hit your hill. So I'd leave a small gap there, which you can either fill with some ballast or some static grass. It's up to you. So let's get this cut out. In true Blue Peter style, here's one I made earlier. So as you can see, the template is tight up against the track all the way up to the back. So the next job now is to transfer this onto the foam board. Now, wherever possible, try and make your hills away from your model railway, because the last thing you want is mess all over your track and all over your lovely railway. So let's get this transferred over to the foam board. So, test fitting, fits in nicely. Don't worry about the jaggedy cut there. We've got to shape it into the shape that we want. The only thing I'm not happy about is the height. If you put a train there, it's the same sort of height roughly as the hill. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to cut a second piece, exactly the same shape as this one, glue it together, and then we'll start to shape it. I think to be safe, I think what we'll do is cut it out, glue it together, and then I'm going to leave it overnight for it to dry properly before I try shaping it. So we'll pick this video up tomorrow. Quick test fit, and it fits nicely. So now you need to do a bit of filling in a few little places, and then we can start painting. So let's get started with that. Now I've started painting. That's what I'm using. This was an acrylic paint. It was only £1 from my local hobby shop. But don't use it neat. Mix it with water till you've got sort of, you guys can see that, a nice watery solution. And then just brush it on. It's messy, I know. As you can see already, starting to get that rock formation. It may take a couple of coats trying to dab it on. Don't go using a brand new paintbrush, an old one, but it is messy. And it will take probably around 24 hours to dry properly. Okay, so it's been a couple of days. I've painted the top of the hill with this. It's just a cheap kiddies ready mix paint, and it's had 2 coats of that. The rock face has been painted. I've used that. Had a couple of coats of acrylic paint. They're just cheap paints from the local hobby shop. Nothing expensive. Both of them cost me £1 each. So next job is to black wash the rock face. So that will bring out more details, hopefully. And I'll show you now how I mix that. Right, so all this is tap water. So what we need is some washing up liquid. Just put a couple of little drops in. All that does is to help it flow better. And then we want some black paint. This is just an acrylic black paint. Probably about a teaspoonful. That'll do. I'll just mix that in. Now, why that's mixing, I just want to explain why I've used brown paint on top of the hill. Now, you can paint it green, but I found when I've done it, sometimes that green paint can show through the static grass, and I don't like that. I prefer to use brown, so it's like an earthy colour. So, like normal grass, if you look through normal grass, you'd see the soil. So it's the same sort of thing, and it's just what I prefer to use. I'd rather people see brown than see the white, creamy coloured foam that I've used. Still not mixing. When you think you're about right, just take your brush, just drop a bit onto a piece of paper towel. From that, you can sort of guess. I'd like that a little bit darker, a little bit more in. And just keep mixing until you get the consistency that you feel is right for your project. I think that should be about right now. Let's test that again. That's better. Right, this is a very messy job, so I'm going to take this outside. Now the black wash has completely dried, so the next thing we're going to try is doing some dry brushing. So there's some white paint, just cheap kiddies paint, tiny bit on the brush, and then we're going to try and move that back a bit, get most of it off the brush, and we're going to go over it. A tiny bit too much white paint there, really. Hopefully that is going to bring out the details of the rock formation. And I'm going to So the paint is dry. It's the last day. The final assault. It's static grass time. So what we'll be using is some PVA glue. This was just some cheap one that was my local hobby store. And this is the static grass we'll be using. You don't have to use this brand. Whatever you can afford is fine. I just like this brand. I've used it before. It's always been good. And the great thing about using 2mm static grass is the fact you don't need an applicator. You can just use a sieve and sieve it on. Right, let's apply the PVA glue. It's been exactly 24 hours since I applied the static grass. So let's oh, now some people use a hoover with a sock over the end or a pair of tights, but all I do is take it and just knock the excess off. It's absolutely fine, and that's it. Got a few little bits left to touch up, but that looks really good.